Hello, tonight we're discussing Parsha Korah, one of the most tragic, I would say, Parshas in Torah, full of very sad and regretful events. So Parsha starts basically from Korah uprising, rebellion. Immediately after the debacle of the spies, when basically the whole Jewish community, all Israelites realized that none of their generation will enter the land of Israel, because they simply didn't, they listened to the spies, to the 10 spies which were negative. So basically the whole community is basically a fair bit upset, because they realize that they will die here in the desert, which is what they were asking for, at least the men, which were crying when they listened to the story of the 10 spies, negative story of the 10 spies. Anyway, so immediately after that, Korah comes up to Moshe and says to him that, who are you, basically, to impose your will on us? Who are you? Why are you the king and your brother is the Kohen Gadol, telling us what to do and how to do it, and why we should listen to you? Every one of us is a Jewish person. God rests between us, and every one of us has got the right to decide what to do, and we are all blessed with the presence of Hashem, of God. And as far as I'm concerned, we need to, everyone should have the freedom of choice of what to do. Every Jew is equal. Well, we will discuss that in a few minutes. Then what transpires is Moshe is basically telling Korah that what I do and what my brother Aaron does as a Kohen Gadol, we simply follow the orders of Hashem. Korah, realizing that by himself he is not really in a position to remove Moses from his leadership, so he enlists help from of other people. He goes into an agreement with Datan and Abiram, who are famous representatives of the tribe of Reuben, as well as 250 other members of the tribe of Reuben, which all of them were fairly well-known people, were well accepted by the community, and they were leaders on their own right on different levels amongst the Israelite community. However, they had their own grievances, their own dissatisfactions, which we will discuss in a few minutes as well. So they decided to join Korah in his uprising, in his rebellion. Moses trying to pacify the whole situation, but because initially God, as soon as he heard all of this, he said to Moshe and to Aaron, you guys remove yourself from those people, and I will destroy the whole Israelite community, and we'll be done with them. Well, Moshe and Aaron prayed and spoke to God and convinced him basically that that's not a good idea again, for whatever time. And Moshe suggests to Korah that he assembles all the people who follow him, and they get the scepters and put incense in them, as well as Aaron will take the scepter and will put incense in it, and all of them will basically burn the incense in the name of Hashem. Whoever sacrifice through the incense, God will accept. This is the one who will be accepted as a Kohen Gadol. However, what and initially everybody sort of agreed to that. However, Datan and Abiram, by the way, these two guys, Datan and Abiram, they were the two fellas who actually saw Moshe killing the Egyptian when he was a prince and was basically living. Moshe was living in the Pharaoh's palace. And they quickly ran to the Pharaoh and told Pharaoh about what had happened, that Moshe killed the Egyptian, and this is why Moshe had to run. So they were not really very nice people, these guys, right? So these two come over to Moshe, and on top of what Korah was saying about the equality of people and about their personal ability to talk to Hashem without Moshe's participation, they said basically that you deliberately brought us to this desert in order, so from Egypt, and in Egypt we had a wonderful life with, the life was flowing with milk and honey, and we always had food and water and everything, whatever we wanted. And here now you brought us all to the desert, and now since you realize that you cannot bring us to the promised land, right, you decided that you want to get rid of us. Kill us here in the desert. We will all die out in the desert. So you will walk around with us for 40 years or whatever it will take, until we all die. And we will never see the promised land. And this has had Moses very, very upset. So he went and prayed to Hashem and spoke to Hashem and said to him, you got, we need to have an unequivocal proof that what I do and what Aaron does is we follow your orders, and that Aaron was your choice, not mine. The root of the problem was that Korah was Moses' cousin. He was the son of Issachar, who was brother of Amram, who was Moses' father and Aaron's father. And Korah was the eldest son of Issachar. So Korah was actually thinking that, as far as he is concerned, and he had some powers of prophecy, admittedly, that he should be the Kohen Gadol, not Aaron. Why? Because it's enough that Moshe, son of Amram, is the king, basically the leader of the Jewish people. Now he, the son of the other brother in the family, should be basically the Kohen Gadol. That's what he wanted. So Korah came over with this excuse, with the whole story of equality of Jewish people, where in reality he wanted the Kohen Gadol's position for himself. Datan and Abiram wanted some leading positions for themselves, because they were from tribe of Reuben, who is the oldest son of Yaakov, and they expected that they wanted to get something out of it for themselves. Now, 250 other members of the tribe of Reuben were firstborn, and they were very upset with the fact that the whole initial idea of the firstborn being the direct servants of Hashem, Levite, initially it were the firstborn. However, Hashem, after the story of the golden calf, changed that and made Levites his direct servants, not the firstborns. So these guys wanted to become basically the direct servants to God. And this was their aim. So here what we have is a number of contradictions in terms of who wants what, and if Korah achieves his leadership, it doesn't guarantee that the other guys will get what they want, and vice versa. Now, so then what has transpired? The next morning, Moshe said to them, look guys, if you want to go ahead with this, just bear in your mind that if you choose to light the censers and they are not, your incense is not accepted by Hashem, you will disappear, you will be swallowed by the earth. And that will be it. Right? But if you don't want to participate in it, so be it. Let's resolve the whole issue peacefully, without anybody being destroyed. However, they obviously stood their ground, Korah and all the other rebellions, and what has happened is as soon as they lit the censers, Korah and his family and children and his possessions and the houses and everything they had, the earth has opened up like an earthquake, like a crack in the planet, in the core of the earth. And they all disappeared in that crack. They all went down directly to hell, I guess. And totally were wiped out from the planet. The 250 Reubenites who lit their censers were burned to ashes. And then Moshe basically asked Eleazar, Aaron's son, to collect the scepters, the pens. And it was a very sad situation. So he collected the 250 scepters, which were later on remade, were hammered into some decoration for the Mizbeach as a reminder of this rebellion and all these troubles. You will ask, what was wrong with what Korah was saying? You know, equality of all people and everybody. Here, the thing is that if he would be saying it from the depths of his heart, if this would be exactly what he wanted, equality for people, he would never be punished like this, as severely as that, or altogether at all. Because his problem was he didn't realize that Hashem can read his thoughts, and Moshe probably could read his thoughts as well, because he was the prophet above all prophets. So they knew exactly what the guy is after. They knew exactly what the other 250 Reubenites are after. And they realized that this is not what they're saying. What they're saying and what they want are two different things. And this is why they were punished so severely. One would think that after all this basically incredible demonstration of Hashem's power, the Jewish people would be more or less pacified and will understand. However, that wasn't the case. What has happened is the next morning, all Israelites, not only the tribe of Reuben or some of the Levites, like it was initially, all Israelites came over and started accusing Moshe and Aaron that they have killed those people of God, because all Jewish people basically were part of the children of Israel, children of God. So they were accusing Moshe and Aaron again that they have killed those people. And Hashem got very, very upset again. And again he told Aaron and Moshe to separate themselves from those people and he will destroy them. And Moshe was trying to convince Hashem not to do it, but what has happened, the plague has started already. Hashem acted very swiftly, very quickly, and the angel of death was amongst people. The people started dying, like really, in front of you, people were dying. Moshe realized that there is no time to lose, and he basically requested that Aaron will take his scepter, put incense in there, and run inside the people in there and stand in the midst of people between the dying and the living, and pray in there and atone people in front of Hashem, ask for an atonement as Kohen Gadol. And Aaron immediately, swiftly carried out this order. And this is exactly what happened. People stopped dying. How Moshe knew about all of this, what to do, that's another story, and I will tell you probably this story one day. I read about it, it's very interesting. In Midrash, yes, they describe this story. But right, for now, that is enough. And now, what has so Aaron stopped people dying? In those few minutes, I don't know whether it was minutes, seconds, or hours, more than 14,000 people died. And that was another tragedy which is described in this parsha. So after this tragedy second tragedy in this parsha, 14,000 people dying, Moshe decided that he needs to try maybe some peaceful approach to the people. And what he suggested, that each tribal leader, each prince from each tribe, will take his staff and will write his name on that staff, including Aaron, representing the tribe of Levi, and they will put those staffs at night, deposit them overnight in the tent of meetings, in the tabernacle, and whichever staff the next morning will produce buds. So this is the one who should be Kohen Gadol. This is the one whom God has chosen to be the Kohen Gadol. And in order not to have any doubts or any complaints, he put Aaron's staff right in the middle. So nobody could say that there was an extra light from the edge in somewhere there or something else, shining on Aaron's staff, so that Aaron's staff started, basically producing some buds and leaves, etc., or even maybe fruits, right? And and they left. So Moshe took a very peaceful approach to resolving the people's grievances and complaints. All those stuffs were basically dead wood. So this is what they did. And what happened next morning? The next morning, the only stuff which had buds and actually even almond fruits, the almonds, was Aaron's stuff. So nobody had any doubts anymore that Aaron is the one who has been chosen by Hashem to be Kohen Gadol. This whole story teaches us basically politics and problem resolution and complaints resolution. Even in those days, there were politicians who would act in a very Machiavellian way, where Korah chose the time immediately after this story with the spies, when everybody was down and basically upset, realizing that they will die in the desert. So there was a bit of a discontent in the community. He deliberately was presenting himself as a fighter for fair and square sharing of power, basically democracy. He was talking about principles of democracy, and you will say, what's wrong with that? What was wrong with that? That he was presenting, or he was talking about principles of democracy and equality, but what he wanted really is power of tyranny, because he wanted to be the Kohen Gadol, telling everybody and basically doing whatever he wanted to do. He wanted power, kavod, respect. That's what he wanted. the dramatic fact that him and his families and all his supporters were destroyed by Hashem, yes, it sort of put the conflict down. It reduced its power of this conflict, but did it resolve the conflict? Obviously, we can see it not, because people complained the next morning. It's only the peaceful resolution which Moshe eventually came up with the using the test of the staffs in the air, which basically put the rebellion totally down and resolved those complaints for the time being. And that teaches us basically that force and power are not the ultimate solution to victory. We know in modern history, in modern time today, when one nation was conquering the other nation, was winning the war, and it looks like they have conquered it. But was it really a solution to the problem? Because people will always remember the bad stuff, and obviously will hold some anger and will try to pay back and will fight back. So this is a difficult parsha in terms of how leadership is always a desirable position and how always we having power struggles in the world because different people want power and control of the other people. I don't need to tell you, I don't need to point my fingers on modern leaders today, and there are plenty, which saying one thing, in reality they mean something else, and during the election they promise one thing, and after the election they're doing the completely opposite thing. So we saw that so many times, that what has happened here with the story of Korah and his rebellion is not anything new to us in terms of modern life, but we see that happening even in those days when people were altogether on a much higher spiritual level. And then the parsha goes to the, every farmer will give some produce, 10% of his produce to the Levites, and the Levites will give 10% of what they have got to the Kohanim, and there are all the laws where and how and in what circumstances Kohanim will get their part of the sacrifices and what will be their entitlements. As you can see again, after dramatic situation, the Torah switches back to laws, rules, regulations of life, how to go about our life. Why? Because this is the way the Torah is. It mixes the aspects of life from dramatic narration to the laws, to the mishpatim or hukim, and or halacha laws, the laws of business laws or relationship laws. And it's a book of the books because it serves so many different purposes. As far as humanity is concerned, this is our instruction manual how to build a perfect world eventually. And we are doing it slowly but surely. We're doing it. We make mistakes, yes. We make 2 steps forwards or 1 step forward and 2 steps backwards, yes. But we're still moving. I want to hope we're moving in the right direction. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.